Have you ever worried about how to broach the difficult topics of race and ethnicity with your students? Mumbled your way through an awkward explanation of the differences between disparities, disadvantage, and discrimination? Or how you, as a teacher, can help your students to develop resiliency in overcoming difficult and challenging situations that may be the result of discrimination? Have you ever wondered, just what should I do? Then worry no more. With the latest edition of Cards Against Discrimination, this special edition of our instructional card game focuses exclusively on historical issues of race and ethnicity. But first, before we can go any further, what exactly do we mean by race, ethnicity, and discrimination? These are important questions to be sure, and ones which your students are bound to have as well. So it is vital that we proceed with a clear understanding of these terms. When we speak of race, what we really mean is a form of categorization for groups of people which has generally been socially constructed and agreed upon, and is most commonly predicated on a set of variations common across the one particular group and which is immediately distinctive when compared to other groups, such as skin color or other physical and biological features. Ethnicity, on the other hand, refers to the more malleable, if ephemeral collection of cultural ideas, norms, and customs, which may be common within a group and distinct when measured against any other group. Key manifestations of ethnic identity include the languages used, arts appreciated, and customary behaviors and religious rituals enacted or observed. Discrimination on the basis of race or ethnicity is defined in and prohibited by Australian law for the Racial Discrimination Act of 1975.
Although discrimination is prohibited by law, it is prevalent in our everyday lives. We see it as adults in the news and even as students on the playground. Social theorists recognize why discrimination still exists in diverse, pluralist societies. Discrimination in the topic of race and ethnicity is deemed as racism. Now, the theory which we have used to assist the development of our game system is postcolonialism. Postcolonialism is a theory which can be used to identify why there is racism. Postcolonial theory considers nations which have experienced British colonization and its continual influences in society, observing divisions and power differences in ethnicity, race, and language, and religions. It identifies that in post-colonial societies there are structural forms of racism which exist between the agents and victims of colonization. We chose this theory to inform our design of the game because Australia is a post-colonial society. In applying this theory to our game, we hope that students will learn to challenge the influences of colonialism which still exist in their social, political, and linguistic climates.
So then, given the seriousness of the matter, why use a game format of all things to address these issues? The answer is rather simple. The iterative experience of gaming scenarios is beneficial to the learning of the student. Games capitalize on learning by doing and provide opportunities to stimulate student self-regulation through problem-based experiential learning. So, how does it all work?
At its most basic level, Cards Against Discrimination works on a 3-deck system. The basic deck contains hypothetical scenarios which confront students with an example of discrimination based on either their ethnicity or race. The solution deck contains possible responses to these scenarios. The third deck contains scenarios which focus on multiple social injustice issues in one, forming an intersectionality between them as in reality. There is always overlap with these issues, which can further the understanding of these students using the game. The aim of the game is to identify the optimal response and use it to solve a scenario. The process of playing the game is as follows. One player will draw a basic card, depicting a hypothetical scenario which is then read aloud. The student who drew the card will then deal 5 answer cards to each of the other students, including themselves. Each player will privately choose the most appropriate and effective response to their scenario and place it face down. After all participants have made their decisions, all chosen response cards will be flipped, revealed, and read aloud. Each participant will provide the reasoning for their selection. The player who solves the scenario wins the match. As soon as a player has won 2 matches by solving 2 basic scenarios, then all future scenario cards must be drawn from the advanced deck. To win the game, A player must have solved either 2 basic scenarios and 1 advanced scenario, or 2 advanced scenarios.
This game can be adapted and modified to suit other learning areas. For example, the use of this game during a science class. The context will stay the same, but the scenario will relate to scientists who face these challenges.